Oregon football is preparing for its biggest recruiting weekend of the month of June. We're going to be talking about some of the big names expected on campus and what this weekend could mean for Dan Lanning and the Ducks in the 2024 class. And we're back like we never left. Oregon fans, what's going on? How we living? Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Ducks Dish podcast. I'm your host, Max Torres. Excited to have you guys along for another episode, huge episode of the pod today as we preview the massive, the monstrous, huge, whatever adjective you want to use, big June 23rd through 25th recruiting weekend for Dan Lanning and the Oregon football team, the Oregon football program. The Ducks are pretty hot on the recruiting trail right now, but I think that they are poised to get a whole lot hotter. So before we get into today's episode, a couple of quick reminders. Make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe buttons. And leave me a comment on how you're feeling about Oregon recruiting heading into this big weekend. Maybe who you want to commit, your favorite recruit on campus, whatever it is. Hop in those comments and let me know how you're feeling. Love interacting with you guys. And then hit those notification bells as well so you don't miss out on future episodes of the podcast. So let's kind of just set the stage for this weekend with Dan Lanning and the Ducks. They currently have the number 8 recruiting class in the country with 16 verbal commitments. But what's interesting right now is that, a couple of other schools, I'm talking about USC, I'm talking about Stanford, have gone on some pretty heavy recruiting runs this month. Huge tip of the cap to Troy Taylor, definitely getting a ton of recruiting momentum around the farm and that Cardinal program. I don't feel like I've ever seen Stanford recruiting at this level, really since I've, started covering recruiting, which dates back to 2018, And then you have USC going on runs, landing guys from across the country, landing some guys that Oregon was also recruiting. So I think that this is a chance for Dan Lanning and the Ducks to respond and show we're not here to mess around. We're not going to let you guys have all the fun and just sit back and watch. So I think this is a huge weekend for Oregon. A lot of their priority targets are coming onto campus for their official visits. And they're also going to be a number of verbal commits that are going to be back on campus for the Ducks. And I think that that's worth mentioning because a lot of times commits are the best recruiters for the Ducks and really any college football team in the country. So I think that that's, more reason for excitement. Guys can they can meet each other. They can, form new bonds, new relationships, and share why they chose Oregon and, what parts of the recruiting process, were important to them and just share those experiences. So with all that out of the way, let's get into some of the big names that are expected on campus this weekend. Starting on the defensive side of the ball, we're talking about 2024 Campbell Hall linebacker Kamar Mothudi. Kamar Mothudi is a guy that Oregon offered, I want to say it was back in January. He plays his high school football in Southern California in Valley Village. And this has been one of Oregon's top linebacker targets in the 2024 class for quite some time. He is coming off an official visit to Washington, has also taken official visits to Utah as well. And Michigan State, that's another school that entered his recruitment. He's currently working from a top 5 of Washington, Oregon, Texas, Utah, and Michigan State. But Kamar Mothudi will take his final official visit, at least that's what it's looking like right now, his final official visit to Eugene with the Ducks this weekend. And I'm loving where Oregon stands in his recruitment. I think I logged my prediction for Oregon on Kamar Mothudi back in March. So this is a guy that I felt very good about Oregon's chances with for a long time. Ducks don't have any verbal commitments at linebacker yet in the 2024 class, and Kamar Mothudi is really one of the best that you'll find out on the West Coast. So that's obviously Oregon's sweet spot when it comes to recruiting. And they're obviously going to continue pushing east, but you've got to be able to convert and seal the deal with some of these top guys in your pipeline states like California. A couple of things that make Kamar Mothudi special in my eyes are his size and athleticism. When I saw him at the Elite 11 finals in Redondo Beach. He checked in at 6'3" and told me he was weighing right around 230 pounds. So real solid linebacker build there. And then the thing that I always like to talk about when I talk about Kamar, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I really think it's special. This is a guy who led his league in tackles and rushing yards in 2022, which is just a feat that I don't think I've ever seen before. And it speaks to his ability as an athlete, his versatility. And then we can also talk about Brian Michalowski, the new or linebacker. Still working through my microphone. I'm back in Long Beach, but hopefully we don't have too many issues. So I'll pick right up where I left off. Sorry about that. But Michalowski, he's still kind of getting his legs under him as a recruiter, his feet underneath him. So he would love to start things off with a commitment from Kamar Mothudi. He's probably the guy I feel most confident about committing to Oregon heading into this weekend. You have a number of Pac-12 schools that are in the mix here that I mentioned with Kamar Mothudi, but I love the job that Dan Lanning and the Ducks and the defensive staff have done in Kamar Matudi's recruitment. So he's looking to announce his college commitment late June, early July. And this is a golden opportunity for Dan Lanning and the Ducks to put the that they've been very high on and who's had high interest in them for a long, long time. All right, let's talk about another linebacker here in the 2024 class. And I got to admit, it's another one of my favorite recruits that I've gotten to cover. We're talking about 2024 Yelm, Washington linebacker Braden Platt. Braden Platt is one of the most athletic and, freak athletes that you'll find on the West Coast, playing his football in the state of Washington. He was also at the Elite 11 finals. And with Braden Platt, he's a guy that Oregon has stayed in the mix for a while. He has been getting recruited heavily by the Ducks for quite some time. Makes a lot of trips out to Eugene because he's from the Pacific Northwest. So that's a recruit, a highly touted recruit that the Ducks have, geography on their side for. We don't see that too often. But Braden Platt is another guy that I'm really liking where Oregon stands with in the 2024 recruiting class. Again, at a position of need, linebacker. They only signed one true linebacker last year in Jerry Mixon in the 2023 recruiting class. So you got to hit that position hard. And here you see him with a huge house call, touchdown run as a running back. And I think, again, he's in that 6'2", 6'3", 230-pound range. I don't know why his film is so dark. Sorry about that. But definitely wanted to have that on screen so you guys can see the kind of player that we're talking about. But Braden Platt has gotten his official visits rolling. I think he started things out in May at UCLA. And then he's also been out to Oklahoma as the Sooners continue to make a solid impression on him and his recruitment. And this is a great chance for Oregon to, I don't know if I'd say seal the deal, because he looks like he's, trying to decide within the next 1 to 3 months is what he was telling me in our interview. So I don't know if he's quite as close to a decision as Kamar Mothudi appears to be. But I think that Braden Platt is a guy that, Oregon has the chance to really capitalize with here in the 2024 class. He's working from a top 8 of Miami, Michigan, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Texas A&M, Oregon, UCLA, and USC. And Oregon has stayed in the mix. They've been one of the schools that have been recruiting him hardest as he goes throughout this process. And I think that he's the kind of linebacker that you need because he can do a lot of different things. And again, just talking about the importance of fortifying, solidifying the interior of that linebacker core. The Ducks definitely did that this offseason with guys like Justin Jacobs coming in from Iowa, Connor Soley from Arizona State. But that definitely is going to be a priority position for them here in the 2024 recruiting class. Another important note is I believe that Braden Platt picked up a prediction to Oregon. Maybe it was just yesterday, but I can't remember exactly when it happened. But looking over at On3, there was a new prediction for Braden Platt to Oregon. I am stalling a little bit here because I'm just looking for the prediction. So give me just a second. Oregon's leading in the On3 recruiting prediction machine. Justin Hopkins placed a pick for Braden Platt to Oregon, and I think it makes a ton of sense, right? And I'm going to tell you why. I mean, I already kind of told you why. Oregon's been recruiting him very heavily throughout his entire high school career. Once he started to pick up steam as a national recruit, I think that speaks to the talent of the caliber of talent there. But I think another thing worth mentioning here is that if we're looking at Oregon's linebacker board in the 2024 class, you have Kamar Mothudi, you have Braden Platt, you have Justin Williams from Conroe, Texas, Oak Ridge. You also have Dylan Williams from Long Beach Poly. And I think that this has been a 3-team race for Justin Williams, Oregon, Georgia, Alabama. And Justin Williams' recruitment has been a hard one to get a hold of because I feel like, he's been out to Georgia and it seems like there's, I'm seeing some smoke that Georgia looks like they're the team to beat. It's kind of just the feel right now, but Oregon has been really, really involved there. So I'm wondering if the timing of that prediction could potentially be indicative of where the Ducks stand with Justin Williams. I don't have intel on that one specifically, just kind of trying to see what developments come out and, kind of read between the lines a little bit, if you will. So I'm not saying that I don't think Justin Williams is going to commit to Oregon. But I think that, Oregon staying involved with Braden Platt shows that they want to, continue to have options at the linebacker spot moving forward here. All right. I need to switch my mic. So give me a second. All right. We're working with the laptop now. I don't know what the deal is with this mic. Hopefully I'll get a new one soon, but they're not cheap. So I'll have to look at that. But let's roll right along. We're talking about more recruits that are coming to visit this weekend. We just talked about some linebackers, and now we're going to talk about the offensive line. Let's talk about 2024. 2024 offensive tackle Jaquan McRoy out of Pinson, Alabama, Clay Chalkville High School. Jaquan McRoy has really emerged as one of Oregon's top recruiting targets here along the offensive line for Alik Terry. He's rated a 4-star prospect, and this is a big dude, 6'8", 365 pounds. He's been making his run through official visits, getting to see a couple of different schools in the month of June, getting out to Arkansas, Kentucky, and Ole Miss as well. But this is another guy that Oregon has been picking up some serious recruiting momentum with. Steve Wiltfong, director of recruiting at 247 Sports, he logged a crystal ball prediction for Jaquan McRoy to commit to Oregon. I think it was just yesterday, Thursday, June 22nd. And, this is a pick that I made a little bit ago. I logged my prediction for Jaquan McRoy to end up at Oregon on May 23rd. So it's always fun to see other industry experts, other recruiting analysts, kind of back that momentum. So this is just think about how big of a recruiting win this would be for Oregon, and not just Oregon, Alik Terry, to show that he can go across the country, which he's already done, by the way, with Chavez Sandman Thompson out of Melbourne, Florida in the 2025 class. He's an offensive lineman committed to Oregon. But this would be a huge win for Oregon because you're going against some SEC schools, the ones I just mentioned. And, this has the potential to be, one of your bookend tackles here in the 2024 recruiting class. You already have Fox Crater, who's verbally committed to Oregon. He took a visit out to Oregon this month. Great to get him back on campus. I'm not sure if that was an official visit, but great to get Crater back on campus either way. You're also still going after Brandon Baker, who I feel really good about going to Oregon at some point. He just dropped his top 10, so it doesn't look like he's in a rush with the process. But Jaquan McRoy would be a huge win just because of the location and the caliber of schools that are going after him. Another 4-star guy that Alik Terry has made a priority here in the 2024 recruiting class. Ducks coaching staff got out to Alabama to visit with McRoy. And, this would be a huge win for them on the recruiting trail if they are, in fact, able to pull it off. Looks like he is eyeing a commitment date of June 30th. So, you can kind of do the math there. That's fresh off of his Oregon official visit. If that is still his intended commitment date following this weekend, maybe they do really well and they move things up. Maybe he pops this weekend. I don't know. But I think that Jaquan McRoy has to be a prime candidate for someone that I think could be the next recruit to commit to Oregon here in the 2024 class. Moving right along, we're talking about another big-time talent in the trenches, and that is 2024 Santa Ana modern-day defensive lineman Aydin Breland. Aydin Breland is a five-star prospect and the top defensive lineman on the West Coast. So he is someone that has had a lot of eyes on him for a long time. I mean, that's pretty much how it tends to go if you're playing for a national powerhouse like modern day. But this is looking like it could be a very important visit for Oregon as they're trying to move up the list of suitors for Aydin Breland. He's taken a couple of official visits this month, getting out to Georgia, getting out to Miami, getting out to Texas A&M. So Oregon, they got some pretty big acts to follow up, but I mean, I think that they're squarely in the mix here with Aydin Breland. 6'6", 290 pounds. This is literally one of those guys that you don't find their kind of body types out west that often. So what does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. It means that this is a guy that you need to prioritize, that you need to close with, because the best players in the West have not traditionally, at least of late, been, staying on the West Coast as often. You're seeing schools like Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, Ohio State, all coming in to raid the West Coast of its top talent. And I'm not saying you can keep everybody in state, but on the West Coast, in the Pac-12. But that's definitely something that you want to do. And Oregon has proven to be one of the schools that's the most capable of doing that. Now USC is getting their act together with Lincoln Riley, keeping guys like Dakota Fields home, Marcellus Williams home. They're going after Kingston Viliamu Asa, who I believe is the number one linebacker on the West Coast in this class out of St. John Bosco. So now Oregon wants to, get their pipeline going once again to modern day. They just signed Lipe Moala in the 2023 class. And, they haven't exactly had the greatest momentum with modern day in this class. And give me a second to explain why. They got a commitment from Jack Ressler, Under Armour All-American receiver in the 24 class. But they did, get cut out of the running for Xavier Brown, an All-American corner that the Ducks were heavily recruiting in the 2024 cycle. But there's no reason to think that all hope is lost with this Monarchs program in terms of Oregon trying to take the top players from them, to play their college ball. You got Ressler in the fold. You're going after Brandon Baker as well. And then you are also going after Aydin Breland and Nate Frazier, one of the best running backs in this 2024 class. Oregon's in the thick of it against Alabama and Georgia as well in that recruitment, as Breeland records a pass breakup there if you're watching us on YouTube at Oregon Football Max Torres. So Breeland could be another massive domino in Oregon's recruiting efforts at modern day in the 2024 class. I didn't really think about this until just now, but St. John Bosco is kind of USC's pipeline, at least right now in the 2024 class. And now Oregon is trying to make their pipeline at modern day. So certainly a fascinating recruiting development to follow here between Dan Lanning and Lincoln Riley. But Oregon gets, I don't know if this is Breland's last official visit. I don't think he's locked in a commitment date, but I think he's looking to commit in late summer or early in the 2023 season. The 2023 season, based on what I remember from our most recent interview. So that's the latest with Breland, and kind of some thoughts there as he heads into his official visit with the Ducks this weekend. And we have one more major name we want to talk about on the offensive side of the ball. And this is a guy that I'm really excited about. So give me a second while I pull up his film. All right, here we go. So the next guy that we're going to be talking about is really a guy that has shot up Oregon's big board in terms of, top targets here in the 24 cycle. We're talking about St. Louis, Missouri, 2024 Christian Brothers receiver Jeremiah McClellan. Jeremiah McClellan is one of the top uncommitted wide receivers in the 24 class. And he's coming in at 6 foot, 190 pounds, 4-star guy, 0.9388. Number 143 nationally, number 20 wide receiver, and number 4 prospect in Missouri, according to the 247 Sports Composite. And heading into this visit, kind of like I was just saying with Breland, McClellan is coming off some very big trips to some really big schools. I'm talking about LSU. I'm talking about Ohio State, schools that have produced far more wide receivers than Oregon has. But even though he's prioritizing development in his decision, I think that Oregon's got a really solid chance here with Jeremiah McClellan. When I talked to him at the OT7 championship, he was playing for California Power and he was carving guys up as a route runner. He was talking about how Junior Adams and him have built a really strong relationship. He was talking about how Cooper Kupp being developed by Junior Adams and having a standout NFL career already is something that really sticks out to him. He was saying, Cooper Kupp's going to end up in the Hall of Fame. Cooper Kupp still comes back to train with Junior every now and then. So that's something that has stuck out in his recruitment. And speaking about sticking out, I think that there's really, about 4 schools that are strongly in the mix here for Jeremiah McClellan, and Oregon is certainly one of them. I think he's working from a top 10 or top 12, but really I think it's looking like a top 4. You got Oregon, LSU, Ohio State, and Mizzou. The in-state Missouri Tigers are staying in the mix as they should with the impressive crop of talent from Missouri, certainly here in the 24 cycle and beyond. The Ducks already have a commitment from 2024 Hazelwood Central defensive lineman Tioni Gray from the state of Missouri as well. He's also going to be on campus this weekend for his official visit with the Ducks. So great to have a Missouri native like McClellan talking about the Ducks, getting in his ear. And I think that McClellan becomes even more of a priority for Oregon, like I talked about on the last episode, because Tyseer Denmark decommitted from Oregon, a Philadelphia wide receiver in the 24 class. He has since flipped to Penn State, but Jeremiah McClellan looks like he is probably the top wide receiver target for Oregon now in this 24 class. And I have pretty good confidence that Junior Adams and this Oregon staff are going to be able to seal the deal this weekend. You have Michael Van Buren, one of 2 2024 quarterback commits for Oregon. He's going to be on campus. Jordan Anderson, a 2024 wideout committed to Oregon. He's going to be on campus as well. So I think they're really going to try to sell that vision for the offense under Will Stein, and just talking about playing with a lot of great players. So Jeremiah McClellan is easily one of the biggest names that's coming on campus for an official this weekend. He said that he doesn't have a commitment date set right now. He was actually waiting for his mom to kind of pick a date and figure out, what works with her schedule, I guess. But we all know how important it is for, mom to feel comfortable with the school of choice. And she's going to be taking the visit along with McClellan's father and 2 brothers as well. So the whole family's going to be there. Super important for Dan Lanning, who is a Missouri native, as we all know, to get the McClellan family on board here as the Ducks look to close and add another important playmaker in their 24 class if they can. And here's another interesting little tidbit since we're talking about wide receivers. 2024 Long Beach Milliken wide receiver Ryan Pelham had previously set an official visit to Oregon for this weekend. Has recently narrowed his recruitment down to USC and Oregon, just took his official visit to USC. And now there's a little bit of chatter, some smoke, some rumors. I haven't confirmed this, but there is some chatter out there that Pelham has canceled his official visit to Oregon. Again, that is not confirmed right now, but it is out there. People are talking about it. And even though I can't confirm that, I will say I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. Why is that? It's because I believe that Ryan Pelham is going to be committing to USC when the time comes on Monday, June 26th. That's a commitment ceremony that I'm going to be at because it's like 10 minutes away from me in Long Beach. But, I think that there's just a lot of appeal for Ryan Pelham to stay home to play his college football. If you're looking at the Trojans and Lincoln Riley, they already have a commitment from 2024. Chatsworth, California, Sierra Canyon wide receiver Xavier Jordan. So they're really putting a new priority on keeping the top local talent, certainly on offense, in their backyard, playing for USC. So I don't want to talk too much about USC, but that's out there. So I feel like it made sense to talk about it in terms of just, where Oregon's 2024 recruiting class is at and what developments we have with the wide receiver class here in 2024. So we'll see if that ends up getting confirmed. I'll try to keep you guys updated, but there are a lot of really big names out there, and I think I've talked about some really good ones so far. I think there's one more guy that I wanted to talk about, and then I'll see what else is out there. Let's see what we got here. Give me just a second. We're talking about a junior college prospect now on the Ducks Dish podcast. He's going to be taking a visit to Oregon this weekend. I'm talking about the number one junior college player in the 2024 class, according to 247 Sports. I'm talking about College of San Mateo cornerback Sione Laulea. I think that's how you say his name. Hopefully I got it right. But here is the tape. One of the taller defensive backs out west, 6'4", 185 pounds. He's going to be taking his final official visit to Oregon, and he has been making the rounds, going to a couple of big schools. I know Miami is a school that recently hosted him, and the Hurricanes added a commitment from one of his defensive back teammates at College of San Mateo. But I think this is a guy that Oregon really wants. This is a guy that is a take for Oregon. And like I said, talking about Dakota Fields, Xavier Brown, the board kind of is fluid right now for Oregon. And I think that Laulea is a guy that you need to watch out for Oregon. He's really fast. He played his high school ball in the Bay Area. He's very familiar with the Ducks. The Ducks have had a lot of recruiting success in the Bay Area. That's kind of Tosh Lapoli's sweet spot. We've had a lot of recruiting success in the state of California with Demetrius Martin, of course. So this has really become one of Oregon's top corner targets here, along with the likes of Aaron Scott Jr. From Springfield, Ohio. I think that Bryce West has been another top option for Oregon in the 2024 class out of the state of Ohio, but he has publicly kind of announced that he's going to make his decision between Michigan and Ohio State. You also have to mention Chris Johnson II out of Aledo, Texas. He's taking his official visit this weekend, and I know that he has been loving the Ducks. So I think that that's another guy that you have to watch out for Oregon. You basically head into this weekend on Quack Watch for a number of guys, and Kamar Mothudi is one that I've talked about, and then Jaquan McRoy is another. So we got a lot of guys that Oregon's in a really good position for, and now it's time to close, to turn that momentum into verbal commitments, and the Ducks are in a great spot to do just that. And then I think Sione Laulea, I don't believe he's announced a commitment date just yet, but he's another guy that has really gone up Oregon's board recently, especially with the developments of other targets at corner in the 24 class. All right, we're going to finish today's episode with a prediction, talking about, one of the recent predictions that I've made on Ducks Digest. A reminder, you can always get my latest updates over on ducksdigest.com. And you can also follow me on Twitter at mtorresports. That's the quickest way to get my work and all the updates that I'm sending out there on Oregon football and Oregon football recruiting. So my latest prediction in the 24 class comes in favor of the Ducks to land 2024 Long Beach Poly linebacker Dylan Williams. So what do we know about Williams right now? Well, he has been a busy guy on the recruiting trail of late. I think right now, he just took his official visit to Oregon this month. I think it was June 9th. So it's been a little bit. This is a guy who has gone to a lot of schools. He's gone to UCLA. He's gone to Michigan State. I'm trying to think of what other schools he's made it out to. Maybe I can go on Instagram and look it up. But I think after a long time, I really feel like Oregon's been the leader in this recruitment since Dylan Williams decommitted from USC in the fall. And I'm ready to hop on board. I did log my commitment, or not my commitment. I did log my confidence at 6 out of 10, and I'm going to tell you why. I think it's because, there's a lot of trips that he's taken. UCLA is a school that is heavily in the mix. Miami is heavily in the mix as well. He's working from a top 7, Alabama, Penn State, Oregon, UCLA, Miami, Michigan, and Texas. So there's a lot of schools still in the mix. He's taken a lot of trips, doesn't have a commitment date set just yet, but Oregon has done a really good job recruiting Southern California. They even got his teammate, cornerback Dalen Austin, to sign in the 2023 recruiting class. So there's that connection. They can sell that to him, teaming up with Dalen again at the next level. And they have so many connections on this coaching staff in Southern California. Long Beach Poly is one of the, most talented high school programs in the country. I think they have sent a historic number of guys to the NFL. Deshaun Jackson, I think, is the most prominent in recent years. But again, with Williams, no commitment date set just yet. But I feel like there's been so much positive momentum around Oregon. There's been so many visits to Oregon that I just have a tough time seeing someone else win this recruitment. That said, I think UCLA and Michigan State are probably the teams that I think really stand out the most right now. I don't even think he's really been out to Bama recently. If so, I didn't see it on social media. But I think UCLA is a major threat right now, kind of the school that I feel like Oregon's main contender is Oregon's main contender here. But I feel like I've been feeling that hunch for a while. And, I went out and put my commitment prediction out for Dylan Williams. So that would be a massive get for Oregon in the 24 class. When you also have guys like Braden Platt, Justin Williams, Kamar Mothudi, all in the mix here at linebacker. That's a spot the Ducks have to hit on here in the 24 class. And Dylan Williams is certainly one of the best out west. So, as we wind things down, it's going to be an interesting weekend to see what happens for Oregon in the 2024 class. If they're able to get a couple of new commitments in the fold, I think that's more than reasonable and should be something that everyone is kind of on the lookout for. I'm going to have all the coverage of it over on ducksdigest.com. So make sure you guys stay in touch with me over there and lock in with me on social media at mtorresports on both Twitter and Instagram. And then subscribe to my YouTube channel at Oregon Football Max Torres. But hey, I think that'll do it for this one. Appreciate you guys stopping by, taking some time to tune in, talk some Duck football, talk some recruiting with me. But we're going to end it on that one. Send you guys off into the weekend with a little recruiting preview. So hope everyone has an awesome weekend. And I bet I'll be on here before long to talk about some new Oregon recruiting developments. But that'll do it. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Ducks Dish Podcast.